As journalists, we're used to reporting on things that often are tragic, or sad, or heartbreaking. Every once in a while, there's a story that hits close to home. About 2 weeks ago, we reported that 15-year-old Truette Rhoda of Idaho Falls was killed in a motorcycle accident near Moab, Utah. He was on a trip there with his dad. I happen to know the family personally, and they were willing to speak with me about the things that happened that day and the kind of person that Truette was. So what follows is an interview with them. There are a few things I wanted to mention before we got into the interview, though. As you probably know, there has been a tremendous outpouring of community support for Truette and his family, including a fundraiser at Jamie Rhoda's restaurant, that's Truette's dad. Last Tuesday night, people waited in line, I'm told, for 3 hours just to buy some pizza because they wanted to help Truette's family. No one was forcing them to be there. No one was there to check off a box of the good deeds that they were doing for the day. They genuinely, out of the kindness of their heart, wanted to be there, I'm told, by Truette's parents. And many have donated to Truette's GoFundMe account to pay for his funeral expenses. After the interview, Truette's dad, Jamie, told me about some very specific interactions with people, of people reaching out. I wanted to mention those here because they weren't included in the interview. The BYU football team heard about what had happened with Truette. They had no personal connection to Truette. They didn't even know who Truette was. But they had heard about it in the news. They autographed a football for Truette's family, and it now sits on their fireplace mantle in their home. A neighbor down the road from Truette's parents ran a marathon in Salt Lake City, and he had the medal engraved for Truette, and it now hangs in Truette's parents' home. These are just a few examples of the many outpourings of community support. Truette's mom, Alicia, told me that many of her kids' teammates on their sports teams, it's just been non-stop visits of gift baskets and well wishes and just expressions of love. Another individual, I want to say it was a coach, though I don't remember for sure, told Truette's dad, Jamie, that he had told his son, if there's anyone I could have you be like, it would be Truette. Truette's described as just a very selfless, kind, caring, cautious individual. And I'm very pleased now to share with you the raw and unedited interview with Jamie and Alicia Rhoda, Truette's parents. I appreciate you guys taking a few minutes. I can't imagine what you're going through, and I'm sure it's been a life-changing week, I'm sure. But take me back to that day, April 13th, I believe it was. What happened?
Well, we were, just getting packed up that day, and we were headed down to Moab to, we were meeting a big group of friends down there to go riding. And, on the way down there, I was talking to my boy and telling him about, we were discussing, how I wanted to take him on a special trip down there because he'd be leaving on a mission in a couple of years. And I told him, the hardest 2 years of my life, son, are going to be when you leave on that mission, because I'm going to miss you so much. And that's how much I love you. And I know this next couple of years are going to feel like a couple of months, and I just wanted to spend some time with you and do some special things with you. And we went down there and met our friends, and we've always had dirt bikes. You know, my boy, he started riding dirt bikes when he was 4 years old, you know, and we've always had them. And we went down there, and, you know, we got up that morning and, you know, just ate some breakfast and went with friends and tinkered on our bikes and worked them. And we didn't even get out there until like 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon to go ride and on King Creek. And, you know, we got all geared up and loaded up, and there was about 25 of us in the group. There was even some younger kids that were 13 on the trip with us, and we were just going down King Creek Road, and we only went down about, you know, 5 miles down the road on the dirt road. And, you know, we had been, you know, driving, you know, down the road, and there was other, you know, vehicles and ATVs and stuff, and I just, you know, told my boy, I said, you know, just follow Dad, you know, and you'll kind of know and be able to gauge and see where Dad's going, you know. And we were actually at the very back of the group. There was only one other guy in our group that was behind us, and we weren't following them very, you know, close. Everyone was spread out, so there wasn't like a lot of dust or anything like that. And we were, you know, driving down, and there'd been some, like, you know, hairpin corners, you know. We went around and just, you know, riding down the road, and then, you know, as we're going, I kept looking back at my boy and making sure, you know, he was there and everything was fine. And, you know, we were just, you know, going, you know, average speed. And some of those corners, you know, I mean, you could only go, you know, 5 miles an hour around them because they're that sharp of a corner. And we went through all those. And then, you know, I look back, and, you know, he'd kind of hugged this one corner, and it wasn't even a close call or anything, but he was hugging a little tight, and there was another quad coming the other way, and I looked back at him, and I kind of gave him the signal, just saying, hey, make sure you stay on your side, you know. And he kind of nodded, you know, and then we were just, you know, driving, and then, you know, there came like a really, you know, it was like a real gradual corner, and I had gone around, you know, started to go around that corner, and I looked back, and I just see my boy go off the side of the road, and he didn't try to like skid, he didn't try to turn, he didn't slide off the road. He just drove off the road, and it was just like a downward slope, you know. And then I remember, you know, watching the news one night, and they said it was like a 40-foot drop off, and that's not what happened. It was a gradual slope, and he actually rode it all the way down. And there was, you know, this, you know, rock. It was, you know, it was like, you know, 2 foot wide or something, and you're, you know, where his tracks went, and he hit that rock, and when he hit that rock, it like catapulted him forward. And there was another, you know, big rock about, you know, 2 foot by a foot just sitting there, and that's where, you know, his helmet had hit that, you know, rock. And then he went past that, and that's where he was, you know, laying. And so when I seen him go off the side of the road, you know, I, you know, was looking back. When I seen him, I stopped, I turned around, and I ran down to him, and he was laying there, you know, up. And I ran down to him, and, I was just trying to help him, you know, and this other guy saw me run down there and helped me take his helmet off, and then we turned him, you know, on his left side because he had, you know, from hitting in the wreck, he had a little, you know, like blood in his mouth, and I wanted to make sure, you know, he could, you know, breathe and stuff, and we had some people go get help, and there was 2 guys in our group that were EMS firefighters, and they went and got them, and he started, you know, trying to talk. He said he needed to breathe, you know, and he tried to push himself up with his arm, and he was moving, lifting his head up, and we just told him, you know, to wait there and that we were going to go get help. And I kept telling him, you know, I kept grabbing his head and telling him how much I loved him, how proud I was of him. And then we were out there, and I gave him a father's blessing, you know, and I told him that he'd be able to heal up and learn from this, and that we'd be able to share it on his mission, and then it just it didn't turn out that way. And
Truette was he'd been writing since he was 4.
Since he was 4, yeah.
And it sounds like this was a complete accident. I mean, there was no risks. He wasn't taking any risks or anything.
No. I mean, we were maybe going around 35 miles an hour and on the dirt road, and it was a soft corner. I mean, you could have went, you know, 60 miles around that, you know. That's how soft of a corner it was. It was just a real gradual corner, and it was, you know, it was just kind of a curve, you know, like if you're, you know, going on a curve on a highway, you know, that's what kind of, you know, curve it was. And it was, I mean, there was no turning, there was no braking, there was no, even when he went off, there was no braking, you know, and it's like if he would have just went to the right, you know, by a foot, he wouldn't have hit that rock. And even if he did hit that rock, if that other rock wasn't there, he wouldn't have hit that rock with his helmet. There was no other rocks around, and he would have just, you know, dirt piled it in and whatnot. And I just, you know, we received a lot of confirmation that, you know, it was the Lord needed him, you know, up there. And, you know, it's hard for us to, you know, deal with that. But he was such a special young man. He was very, very kind and very thoughtful. He always thought of other people before him. He would go and help the special needs kids at the school. He would always go up and greet them, and he would go and over to the junior high, even though he was in high school, and he would go and run with them and spend time with them. And he just always, you know, was included everybody. He wanted everybody to be included, and he always was thinking of others. And he was a really good athlete. You know, he did, you know, all the sports from track and football and wrestling, and, you know, and he was, you know, physically he was a very strong young man. And he never, you know, used that. You know, sometimes at that age, you know, you see kids that can be arrogant or think they're better than everybody. And Truette was never like that. He was always so kind to everybody, And we received a letter from one of his classmates, from a girl that talked about how there was a group of kids making fun of this kid, and they were all laughing, and Truette, told him, he said, that's not funny. And they kept doing it, and Truette stood up and he said, you guys need to stop. And that's what kind of son he is, and what his heart is, and he will, definitely be someone, in heaven who is one of Heavenly Father's warriors that are going to help. And he just, there was another girl that was having a birthday party, several weeks when that late snowstorm came through, and Truette went out there and shoveled the driveway, and the parents that were there were just like, here's this young man, and all these kids are in there having fun and doing this stuff, but he thought enough that he wanted to go out there and shovel their driveway for him, because he was always thinking of somebody else. If anybody, ever came around and, they were talking about things or something that, wasn't, right, he always made the right decision. He would just leave, the group, but he would always stand up. He would always make the right decision. And his heart and his actions are he was such a good person and such a pure spirit, we were just, blessed that we were able to have him for as long as we had. And
Truette's funeral was last Thursday.
Yes.
And I have heard that the turnout was tremendous.
They said it was like over 800 people.
Wow. Kids from school were there.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I heard.
Kids,
Yeah.
teachers so Truette went to Bonneville, but we live in Hillcrest boundaries. So he had a lot of friends from Hillcrest.
I see.
So we had Bonneville High School and Hillcrest High School. Both came.
We had people come from Utah and Oregon.
We've moved all over, and people came from Utah, from Oregon, Arizona, all over to attend his funeral.
People from Texas reached out to us, just South Carolina. We received a lot of letters and emails and different things, and every one of them was how kind he was and how thoughtful he was and how he always included everybody, and he
left an impression.
So this fundraiser, I understand Liberty Homes kind of took the lead on that and hosted that at your place of business, Rizzo's Pizza.
Yeah.
And then a GoFundMe account was started for Truette's funeral expenses. So what's your reaction to all the community support?
It just confirms, it's unbearable to lose your son. And when you have people come around and want to support you and your family, and you have that many people that care about you, it confirms, that the community is a very special place. It confirms that, you want your son to be remembered, and for everyone to have the compassion and to help, want to help you heal and try to make things better, and to have that kind of support from the fundraisers to the people that came to the funeral for the cards. We even received anonymous people, and it's just, you're so grateful, and you just feel like everybody is, coming together. It feels like the true love of Christ is here, and you're in a community that, is there for you and is embracing you and is trying to help you through, a time to where you don't think your body can actually even deal with the physical pain because it's that great, and you just hold a lot of it in, and you can't even release it because you just don't think you can handle it.
I just feel it's a true testament to the person Truette was and the impact that he had on the community and all the lives that he has touched, and how he will never be forgotten, and the impact even on his friends in the community, I think, has made people want to be better and want to do better. And I think that's incredible, how many lives he has touched in that way.
What's gone through your mind over this last week?
Disbelief that my boy is gone. That, pain that you harbor in. Even though I know we'll be able to see him again one day. And it's so hard not to be able to wrap my arms around my boy. Have him come in and talk to me when he's getting ready to go to bed, and watch him play sports, and go riding with him. See him keep maturing. And
Alicia, how are you able to be so strong through all of this?
I don't think I've even fully processed the loss quite yet, but from the moment it happened, I had a very strong comfort that this is where he was supposed to be, and that he's okay, and that he's standing with Christ, and that he's a true warrior in heaven. And many times I've had that confirmation, strong confirmation, that it's okay, we will see him again, and he's here with us, and he's doing the Lord's work, and we will see him again. And I feel like my faith has been what's helped me so much with the loss of Truette.
I know that he was received with open arms when he went to heaven.
I feel like he had a mission on this earth, and he completed it. He came what he was and did what he was supposed to do, and left the mark he was supposed to make, and it was time for him to go home and help with work.
If you had 5 more minutes with Truette, what would you say to him?
I did have it with him, when it happened. And I just told him, I said, son, I am so proud of you, and I love you so much. And I couldn't have asked for a better son. He was so special and so kind, and for him to always be that way and so helpful, and I just tell him I don't want you to go, and I love you, and I want to hug you.
It definitely jerks you right back into where your priorities need to be, what's important, what's not important, who you are as a person and as a human being has all the weight in the world versus things that you have. I feel like I've definitely become a better person because of this. I don't feel angry. I feel lonely and like a piece of me is missing. But I also want to be a better person. His siblings have all rallied together and they've all said that they're really going to try to just be better people and try to be like Truette, because he left such an awesome example.
For us all to be a little, kinder and more thoughtful and more loving to one another. And that's what we really have felt with the community rallying around us and helping us, is what an unbelievable area that we live in, that a community comes together, to help you process that. And you want your son to be remembered. You don't want him to be forgotten. You want him to be remembered for, who he was and how he treated everybody. The kindness that he had shown to so many people. And I feel like we've received that back from everybody. And we're so thankful for all of it.
To his friends, Truette was known as True Blue. And that name appears on Truette's social media accounts, his Instagram account. Below this interview, we have included a link to that Instagram account for Truette. His parents are asking members of the community if they have any memories, videos, photos, or other things they want to share about Truette, to please share them on that Instagram page so that they have it. In Idaho Falls, I'm Rhett Nelson, EastIdahoNews.com.